I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, October the 4th, brought to you in part by Safeguard. Safeguard still wants to know, is your dewormer working? Text the word SAFE to 48109 to find out. You'll also be entered to win a Traeger pellet grill. For more information, go to Merck Animal Health. Is the fall calf run half over? It sounds impossible. Normally we get into the meat of the fall run in late September, and it runs through October really heavy and well into November, and then we get some wean calves out of the Midwest, upper Midwest later in November and December. But we're thinking maybe we've seen a lot of the fall calf run already. We know it's going to be light, yet our auction receipts haven't been that much lighter than normal, and in fact they've been running heavier. We saw on Monday in Oklahoma City, we saw 8,500 head compared to 6,200 head a year ago. In Joplin, they had 5,300 head on Monday compared to 3,700 head a year ago. And it's kind of been running like that. It's got our investors, our speculators, our fund people kind of confused. You know, we're talking about lighter numbers everywhere, but we're still not seeing them as of yet. But I think we've been seeing them so early because it's just been so dry everywhere, and people are trying to conserve what grass they've got for their cows. They don't have any place else to turn out the calves. They would ideally like to wean those calves, turn the calves out, get them long time weaned after they've got them vaccinated with at least 2 rounds, and then bring them back. That's when they sell the best. But when they got no place to turn them out, they're conserving their hay and their grass that they have for their cows. It's kind of tough sledding, and they're having to bring them in mostly unweaned. Like I said on our last visit, the ones that are vaccinated and fresh off the cow are finding a lot more friends than the ones that don't have any vaccinations. And I also told you on the last visit that half the calves that we sell right now, as of the last year or two when they did the test, have not seen a needle of any kind as of yet. But talking about you know, our placements, which our calves are going to be placements too, because we know there's no place to turn those calves out. Talk is that the Southern Plains, especially your corporate feed yards, that's basically your Southern Plains, are saying that their placements on feed in September were extremely light. Now, we didn't necessarily see that in the Northern Plains at all. Like I said, we've been seeing a lot of calves running, and the calves are not going out to forage. They're going into some kind of a feed yard or a growing yard or somewhere, but it's still going to be numbers on feed. But that's something to start being concerned about. You know, our placement's going to be light on this next cattle on feed report. I know that our investors in your cattle futures that are not in the business, they're going to be looking at that. They're going to be wondering what our placements are like. Are they going to be light? You know, is the rumor, the word that we're hearing out of the Southern Plains right? It'd be nice to see really light placements, but you know, it's just hard to say what's going to happen, because I don't feel like we've seen lighter placements as of yet in the Northern Plains, because they're the ones that like to feed cattle or feed calves. And then the Southern Plains would rather feed yearlings. Anybody should, but Northern Plains would feed calves a lot sooner than the Southern Plains. But let's talk about your board to open the week on Monday. October live cattle futures up $1.05 at 144.32. December was up 97 cents at 148.02. Your back months on live cattle up 60 to up $1. October feeder cattle are up 135, 175.52. Pretty good in the place of slightly higher grains. November up 142 at 176.05. Back months on feeder cattle were all up except for your last month out there. The farthest out was down $1. And that's kind of curious. There's hardly any play out there in September of 23, but it was down a full $1, while all the rest of them were up triple digits, like your nearbys, up as much as 142. Weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 5-area feeding region, 83,900 head. That's not as much as we would like to see, but it's not terrible. It compares with 97,700 when we gained market position last week, and 76,500 the same week a year ago. Talk about your live cattle sales of steers and heifers last week. They were from 50 cents to $2 lower on the spread, but it's kind of hard to tell on the spread. Everything goes with the weighted average, and it was mostly steady. But live sales of steers and heifers last week ranged from 140 to 148. There was only 140 some head at 140. There was 2,300 at 148, but your weighted average on live steers was 144.78, and that was down just 16 cents compared to the end of the previous week's weighted average. So that's not terrible, and like I said, mostly steady on live sales. Dress sales ranged from 225 to 233. It was actually 225.60, and I'm unsure why we had that odd number on a negotiated dress sale there, because that seems kind of curious to me also. But there was only a little over 200 of those at 225.60. There was 2,500 head at 233, and your weighted average on dress steers was 229.17. That was actually up 18 cents. But basically your fat cattle market was mostly steady last week. Nationwide, we sold a little over 100,000 head negotiated, pure negotiated cash, 100,300 head. About 29% of those, or just short of 29,000, were for the 15 to 30 day delivery, and that's pretty typical. We usually see right in there about 30% for the 15 to 30 day delivery, which helps set your packers up down the road for their needs on a negotiated basis. But negotiated grid sales added up to 47,800 head. Forward contracts 24,100 head last week, and formula sales were 256,100, which is huge and pales all the others in comparison, but it was still a little bit less than typical. So we're wondering if what the packers are doing if the cattle are not out there for them to formula, because they basically got contracts on those, just not as many head out there. But 256,000 formula would be 20,000 less than what's typical on a normal week these days. Monday we did have a few sales in the Northern Plains. Iowa sold a couple hundred head at 229 dressed. Nebraska sold about 350 head at 230 dressed, and both of those would be right well into your steady category right there. Box beef cutout values, and we know the packers would like to get those up a little bit because they've been struggling, and we're getting to the time of the year where we ought to see a bottom to these box beef cutout values, but they just keep going lower every week. But choice cuts on Monday afternoon were up $2.19 at 245.94. Selects were up $1.18 at 221.31. Talk about what else is going on. Beaver County Stockyards is no longer a country sale barn. And I'm not even sure it's just a regional market. It's getting to be one of our high volume Tuesday sales, and they are growing. They're doing a good job for their customers. They've got excellent facilities, and they've got a hell of a market, especially for where they sit in the world. But they're going to have 6,000 head here on Tuesday. They've got several long strings and several respectable strings of high reputation cattle. Got the Joe Mathis cattle going to be coming in there from east of there and still in Oklahoma there. Got the Mesa Vista Ranch calves in there. A couple of loads of them be 5-weight steer and heifer calves. That's the ranch that T. Boone Pickens owned. If you guys know about that ranch, it's just kind of south of Perryton, Texas there, but be some really top quality calves over there. They're going to have 2,500 yearlings, a lot of them in a thin condition. Many loads of them will be solid black and good enough to go anywhere in the world, guys. You got to get on to dvauction.com and check out that sale here today on Tuesday. Going to have 2,500 calves on offer. A lot of them be fancy calves. Many of them off the cow, but most of them have at least one round and some of them 2 rounds of shots right there. But don't forget Beaver County Stockyards here today on Tuesday. You can view and bid on dvauction.com. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction. late in the day on Monday, sitting at 174.67. That was actually up 31 cents, but you remember the market was really down hard a week ago on Monday, and so we got rid of that day, got rid of those quotes, and then it's a 7-day moving average, and so it was up 31 cents, which was a little bit surprising to me because we didn't see too many higher markets. But Tuesday is getting to be a big sale day. A lot of regional type on Monday, excuse me. Monday has a lot of sales, but we did have a Russell, we did have a Faith South Dakota, we did have a few of our Northern Plains sales that typically sell a little bit higher there, and pretty good showing on Monday really for the way the market is. But on Friday, I'm going to be out in Fallon, Nevada at Nevada Livestock Marketing. Going to have one of their seasonal specials. They're getting ready. They've had one of those already, but be having those 1 to 2 times a week here through the fall and most of the winter. But have some of those hard Nevada mountain calves right in there, guys. But also this Friday, on top of the feeder cattle special, they're going to have the cattle drive political campaign rally for Adam Laxalt. He's a Senate candidate on the GOP side for Nevada Senate. Desperately need him, and we desperately need those votes. I'll tell you what, Nevada's one of those states that has all their population kind of centered in one area, and they don't necessarily see things the way that we see them, but they're going to have a big political rally. Going to have a sale for him. People can donate livestock to that, all classes of livestock. They'll help you get them in there. They got trucks running, guys, but you can donate livestock to Adam Laxalt's campaign there. We're going to have the campaign sale at 5 o'clock p.m. and all the money, the commission and everything is going to go to his campaign to help him win Senate there in Nevada. Talk about your big sales on Monday. Oklahoma City, Oklahoma National Stockyards, 8,500 head. Like I told you, that compares to 6,200 head a year ago. But everybody knows that the cattle are not out there, and they're just glad they're getting the receipts right now because they are really going to turn off like a spigot as we go forward. But feeder steers, $1 to $3 lower. Feeder heifers were mostly steady, and calves unevenly steady. And they even made a quote on the government market report that calves have been coming early this year, and several weeks early in some cases there, because it's been so dry and there's just no place to turn those calves out. And we've got to save that grass and hay and any kind of feed that you happen to have on hand for your cows. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 5,300 head compared to a year ago. They had 3,700 head in Joplin, so kind of the same type of thing. They're awfully dry in Joplin. They're dry in Kansas. Even talked to some of my friends out in Kentucky and places out east where they're really starting to get dry. The entire western 2/3 of the United States is dry. Terrible dry. We've got to have some moisture sometime or another. I know the winter time is a good time to have a drought, but we're not in the winter yet, guys. We need to get some moisture here, and I just wish we could get something to break that up a little bit. And I do see temperatures starting to cool off in the forecast out front there. But saw the government market report out of Joplin. It was kind of curious there as the trend, but I'm going to give you the trend that I got from some local guys there that I trust and believe in. They said the feeders were about steady to $3 lower, which would be expected there. Weaned calves were $3 to $7 lower, and unweaned calves steady to $6 lower, but it's just no place to turn the things out anywhere, guys, and it's going to continue to be that way until something changes, and it's likely not going to change. When the farmers in the Midwest get done with harvest, there'll be more of them come into the market and want some calves to background and even bigger calves to feed. Russell Livestock in Russell, Iowa, and we're starting to see a big disparity in what cattle are bringing in the southern plains and what they're bringing in the northern plains again. They've got the grain up there. They're doing most of the work themselves, and they're getting better prices for the feeder cattle and calves. But Russell, Iowa had 2,600 head. The market was kind of mixed compared to the last big sale, which was 2 weeks ago. Did have a stick out sale there at Russell, Iowa. 65 steers weighed 800 pounds at 187. That'd be a good $12 higher, 13 maybe, than what our index levels are, guys. but a heck of a quote out of Russell, and they sold a lot of cattle in that range right there. Talk about your Zoetta stick-out sale of the day. It was Faith Livestock in Faith, South Dakota. 2,400 head of feeders. Kind of had a calf special. Not a lot of heavy cattle in the mix, but look at all these light calves they had, and you can see them on this automated market report out of Cattle Market Central through DV Auction. 453 head of 4-weight steer calves, averaged 464 with a weighted average price of $234.29. Wow, that's in Faith, South Dakota, guys. 768 head of 5-weight steer calves. Most of the time when they sell those calves, they'd be weighing well into the 6s later in the year. They're moving them early there too, guys. 768 head of 5-weights, average 539 with a weighted average price of $212.92. 588 head of 4-weight heifer calves, averaged 457, weighted average price on those little girls of $210.37. Pretty respectable. And 174 head of 5-weight heifer calves, average 529 at $195.75. Give you a few individual quotes. How about Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri? They had a heck of a sale on Monday, including 72 head of steers, weighed 665 at $197.25. That is deep into the 6s to be bringing that kind of money, guys. And don't forget, Callaway Livestock Center's got a special cow sale this Thursday evening. And Jack told me that he's going to have several consignments of first calf heifer pairs and young bred cows there. If you guys are interested in that, dvauction.com Thursday evening. Call them early, tell them you're interested in bidding, and get approved to bid online there if you guys can't make it to the sale. Some other individual quotes. How about Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Worthing, South Dakota? Another DV Auction broadcast customer there. Sold 350 head of 1099 or 1,100 pound near beer steers there, just needing to top off with grain at 164.25 on a market of 143 or maybe a little better on your fats. But your best quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Faith Livestock in Faith, South Dakota. 104 head of steer calves, weighed 473 at $238.75. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.